Just a quick video on phrase structures today. Specifically, we're going to look at a Chopin Prelude as a way of talking about extended phrase structures. So the phrase structure we're going to look at is an example of extending a phrase structure with an interrupted cadence, digressing to another key area, and use of a diminished seventh. Cool. Let's just jump right in. So here's the Chopin Prelude in B minor that we'll be looking at. I'll just play it through so you've got an idea of what it sounds like. Okay, fantastic. Right. So what we'll do now is we'll just break it up into its constituent phrases. Here's the first 8 bars, in fact this is the first phrase. We end this phrase on an imperfect cadence in B minor. And because we end on an imperfect cadence in B minor, we might expect at this point, we might expect that we're like at the beginning of a balanced phrase. We've just heard the first half of a balanced phrase, and it's landed on this imperfect cadence, so we might now expect to hear a varied repetition of this, which will then end on a perfect cadence to resolve the tension. I'll just play this first phrase again so you've got an idea of what it sounds like. Cool. Okay, so now let's just have a think about what happens next. Because what we don't get actually is a really clear varied repetition. What happens is immediately after we sort of start the phrase again with this sort of left hand motif, but then we quite quickly move through into something that sounds like C major. So we get this very weak perfect cadence into C major, the Neapolitan key. Neapolitan because it is a semitone above the tonic. The tonic here is B, we're in B minor. The Neapolitan key is always a semitone above, it's like the flattened second. So here we've got C, C major, C natural is a semitone above the tonic. So we've got this weak perfect cadence in C major, which is already a little bit weird. We're now quite distant from B minor. And this generates a problem. We now need to get back to B minor, which creates a sort of a sense of tension at this point in the piece. We know that we've got quite a long way to get back onto home territory. So we have this sort of C major digression, and then we land on a diminished seventh. And this diminished seventh helps move us back to B minor. A diminished seventh is quite a versatile chord, and the way it resolves brings us back into B minor, and we can start to see that we've kind of in B minor by this bar here at the end of the second line. You can start to see these A sharps coming back in. And in fact, we might end the piece here. This might be the end of our phrase. We've got chord 5 set up here, chord 5-7 even, in B minor, and we might land on chord 1, but we don't. We end up landing on chord 6. So we get this sort of interrupted cadence, which further extends the phrase structure. We still have a little way to go before we're kind of back on safe territory with our perfect cadence in B minor. So we kind of start again, we restate the previous 4 bars, and this time we land on chord 5 again, and we then get our perfect cadence. And because we've had quite a lot of harmonic tension over the previous few bars, with this sort of digression into C major, this diminished seventh, this interrupted cadence, the tonic chord, when it appears, needs to be really sort of emphasized. And the way Chopin emphasizes it here is he sort of elaborates on that tonic chord. We get 5 bars of this tonic chord at the end of the piece to really kind of firmly establish B minor again, to really firmly establish the tonic. I'll just play that second phrase again so you can kind of hear what's going on and get a sense of what this sounds like. Cool. Okay, so I just want to talk over that sort of diminished seventh moment, just because it can be quite difficult to see what's going on the score. So I thought we could isolate this and just see what's happening. So here's our flat 2B, our Neapolitan chord, and then the C of that chord falls to B. So now we've got chord 4 of E minor. And then these common tones, this E and this G, are held, and a C sharp and an A sharp are added. So we have this diminished seventh chord. A diminished seventh is created out of stacked minor thirds. If I were to sort of take A sharp, start on A sharp, and go up in thirds, in minor thirds, we get A sharp, C sharp, E, and G natural. And that gives us our diminished seventh. Here we've got the E at the bottom, but that doesn't necessarily affect the sound of the chord so much because it's a symmetrical chord. All of the intervals are the same. They're all minor thirds. And we use that diminished seventh to get to chord 5-7 of B minor. And the way we do that is we hold this A sharp, we hold this C sharp, this E goes up to the F sharp, and this G falls down to the E. So we end up on 5/7. It's a bit of a strange resolution of a diminished seventh, but it works. We've just done it via some common tones. We've held common tones. Cool. Okay, and then we have this slightly delayed resolution to chord 6 in the right hand. So you can see that the bass has changed. We go from F sharp to G, from the 5th step of B minor to the 6th step of B minor in the left hand, but the right hand holds that 5/7 chord for the first 2 beats of that bar, and then it resolves in the last half of this bar. So that's broadly speaking what's going on. So there we go. I might just play the piece as a whole again, so you can get a sense of what it sounds like as a whole phrase structure now that we've talked through it. Right, super. I hope this video has been helpful and I hope you find it useful. Just thinking about how you might use this, you might think about how you can extend the phrase structure in your own composition work by using an interrupted cadence. You might think about using an interrupted cadence to build tension through quite a short piece. So, for instance, a GCSE or an A-level composition, you might think about using an interrupted cadence to build tension and then release that tension by landing on a perfect cadence a few bars later. You might think about digressing to the Neapolitan via a weak perfect cadence. So I think we had sort of a 5/7, a 5/7D going to 1B in C major here. Or you might make use of a diminished seventh to move from one key to another. So there's lots of different things that you can take out of this in for use in a GCSE or in fact an A-level composition that will help you sort of develop your ideas and help you kind of create a sense of flow through your piece and indeed explore ideas around tension and release, particularly harmonic tension and harmonic release within a GCSE or A-level composition. Super. I hope that's been helpful. Thank you very much for listening, and see you next time.